Friends, today we have a creepy story from a hitchhiker who knew their names. If you like scary stories that are completely true, then this is for you. So make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon so you don't miss another episode. And with that said, let's get into it. It was well past midnight when they picked up the hitchhiker. They were driving home from a party where they had all had a few drinks, and the empty road under the moonlight was giving them a scare. But even though Liam insisted that it was crazy to pick up a stranger in the middle of nowhere, Maya refused to roll down the window and just drive past him. "I feel bad for the guy," she said. "And besides, we have to get home anyway." That's how they ended up with a complete stranger in the front seat of their car. The man hadn't said a word since they had picked him up. He kept staring straight ahead at the road. His eyes were fixed, and his expression didn't change. But every once in a while, Maya would glance at him out of the corner of her eye, and each time, his eyes seemed to bore right through her skull. Still, she couldn't help but take notice of the fact that he was an incredibly good-looking man. Tall, dark hair falling over his forehead, sharp jawline, high cheekbones, full lips. She quickly looked away, embarrassed by her own judgmental thoughts. The man suddenly turned his head towards her, and she felt a chill run down her spine. He tilted his head slightly, as if studying her. Then he opened his mouth and spoke, but not a word came out. Instead, a long, putrid stream of air gushed out and slammed into her face. She screamed, fell back against the seat, and stared wide-eyed at the man as he leaned closer and closer. Then he did something that made her scream again. He took his hand and covered her mouth. His fingers dug deep into her flesh as he pressed her lips shut. She thrashed around trying to free herself, but he held her fast. The next thing she knew, he had pushed her down, flipped her over, and pinned her arms behind her back. She struggled against him, but his grip was impossibly strong. Then he leaned close to her ear and whispered, "Don't move." Startled, Maya froze. She could hear his hot breath on her skin. His eyes glowed like animalistic yellow slits in the darkness. Panic started rising inside of her. She tried to kick out, but the man caught her foot and twisted it behind her back. "Help me," she cried out, her voice muffled by the palm of his hand. He tightened his grip on her mouth until her teeth hit his palm. "You'll be okay," he whispered. "Just relax." As he reached for her other foot, Maya strained against him, trying to free herself from his grasp. She scratched at his face and dug her nails into his cheeks. Finally, he lost his balance and rolled off her. Gasping for air, Maya scrambled backwards, away from the man. Liam and the others stared at her in confusion. "What the hell?" he asked. She scrambled out of the car and ran as fast as she could along the side of the road, away from the car and the man. She didn't dare look back, but every instinct in her body was screaming at her to run. Her heart pounded in her chest, and her lungs burned with each breath she took. She didn't know how long she ran for, but eventually her legs gave out and she collapsed on the side of the road, sobbing uncontrollably. When she finally dared to look back, she saw Liam standing there, looking at her with concern. He helped her up and led her back to the car. But when they got there, the hitchhiker was gone. "Where did he go?" she asked, her voice shaking. But Liam only shrugged his shoulders because he had no idea. The four of them piled into the car and sped away. They didn't stop talking for the rest of the ride, and they were too shaken up to listen to music or watch movies. The more they talked, the more Maya realized that she didn't remember anything from before the man had attacked her. She didn't remember what they had talked about in the car before they stopped to pick him up. She didn't remember anything. Like her mind had blocked it all out. As the sun rose, they pulled up outside Maya's house. "Thanks for driving us," she said to Liam, knowing that he would never agree to do something like this ever again. "Of course," he replied, but she could tell that he wasn't looking forward to hearing about it again. When she walked inside, Her mom rushed over to her, worry creasing her forehead. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Some jerk tried to kill me," she said, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. When she told her mom about the hitchhiker, her mom gasped. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Did you get hurt?" "No," Maya whispered. But as the days passed, strange things started happening. First, she couldn't get the image of the man out of her mind. Whenever she closed her eyes, she could see his dark, burning eyes staring back at her. Second, she found herself having the same dream over and over. In the dream, she was lying on the ground, and the man was standing over her, his eyes glowing yellow in the darkness. She would wake up in the middle of the night, her heart pounding in her chest. Then third, she started hearing his voice in her head. It wasn't a hallucination, nor was it a manifestation of her anxiety. It was something else entirely. At first, it was just snippets of conversations she had with him in the car. But then the voice started speaking full sentences. She heard him say things like, "I can't wait to see you again, and you taste sweet like candy." Every time she heard his voice, her blood ran cold. She went to the police, but they told her that without evidence, there was nothing they could do. The officer looked at her with pity in his eyes. "I'm sorry, but we can't just arrest someone based on the fact that you had a bad experience with them. I know it must be hard for you, but sometimes you just have to let it go," he said. She didn't want to let it go, though. She wanted justice. She wanted to find the man and make him pay for what he did to her. But as weeks turned into months, the police grew colder and colder to her pleas for help. She was on her own. One day, Maya decided that she needed to find the man on her own. She went back to the place where she had met him, but he was gone. She spent hours searching for him, calling his name until her throat was hoarse. But he didn't answer. As the sun began to set, she sat down on a nearby rock, defeated. That's when she noticed a small, smooth stone in her hand. It was a pretty stone, but it wasn't the kind that you would normally see in this part of the country. She turned it over in her hands, examining it closely. And that's when she saw the engraving on its surface. At first, she couldn't make out the writing, but as she wiped away the dirt, the letters became clearer and clearer. It was a name. Not just any name, but the name of the man who had attacked her. How did he give her a stone with his name on it? Had he done this on purpose? She started running. She ran as fast as she could, clutching the stone in her hand. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew that she had to get away from there. As she ran, she heard his voice in her head, taunting her, telling her that she couldn't escape him. She didn't dare turn around to see if he was following her, but she could feel his presence behind her, like a dark cloud hanging over her head. Finally, she stopped running. She was exhausted and scared, and she didn't think that she could keep going. That's when she heard his voice behind her. Well, caught you finally," he said. She turned around slowly and saw him standing there grinning at her. "How did you find me?" she whispered. He leaned closer and whispered back, "You left this behind." He held up the stone in his hand. "I knew you would come back for it," he said. "I knew you couldn't resist." She wanted to scream, but no sound came out of her mouth. She tried to speak, but her throat was dry and scratchy. All she could do was stare at him in horror as he took another step toward her. So friends, that was the story of the hitchhiker who knew their names. If you liked this story, please leave a thumbs up below. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss another video. And with that said, see you next time.